Please listen carefully.
We got Dan here from Canadian Craft Beer Collective. Thanks for tuning in today. We are in East Vancouver at Postmark Brewery, and I got the whole gang sitting here. This only took about half an hour to actually make this happen. So, first of all, we've got the Master Brewer, Dominic. Thank you for having us, sir.
No, thank you.
And then we got co-founders Nate and Steve today.
Cheers.
So we're doing a bit of a Meet the Brewer / Meet the Co-Founder chat here. And I think, Steve, why don't we start with you? And I'd like to talk about really the origins of Postmark and where you guys started and why Postmark and everything. Talk to me about the first 6 months.
Yeah, so I think, we're in this beautiful building, and we have a few other businesses in this building that we've had for a while. So we also make wine here under the brand Vancouver Urban Winery. We have a restaurant called Bellegarde Kitchen. And as a team, we kind of always had this crazy dream of having a winery, a brewery, and a restaurant all in one building. We love craft beer. We've been in the craft beer game for a long time as consumers. Nate worked in it for a long time. I've done marketing and sales. So we kind of got together and said, let's do this. So, from the beginning, we always wanted a brand that was very authentically us. We love being outside. We love the West Coast. So we wanted to create a brand that fit our lifestyle and our friends really, really well. Later, when you talk to Dominic, you'll find out how the style of beer is really meshed well with us and what we wanted to create for our company. So, it was really just a dream we had, sitting around one day going, let's build something that we love and let's put it in this gorgeous building that we had.
Perfect.
So it all came together.
You know what I love with you guys is the lifestyle you live, and certainly the people that surround you really encapsulate Postmark. If you follow these guys on Instagram, if you follow the brewery at all, you'll realize that these guys live that lifestyle, and that's what's so cool about it. And you've really created a beer that you and your friends want to drink, and it's that simple. And it's taken off like wildfire, and that's what's really encapsulating the Pacific Northwest in it. So really love what you guys do. That's great.
It's awesome.
Next, I'm going to ask Dominic. Let's talk about kind of how you ended up here and your journey to become the Master Brewer here.
Brewing's my midlife crisis. So I had a career for quite a few years as a physiotherapist, and I loved it, and I thought it was great, but it was just time for me to move on to help people a little bit of a different way.
Perfect.
And so I've always been a home brewer. I've always loved it, and one day I just decided, wow, people actually do that for a living. So I went to school, and at the American Brewers Guild, I spent some time at Deschutes Brewery in Bend, Oregon, and then I worked with basically, in all honesty, every legend now that is in BC that started the whole craft beer revolution. And I did that to get my 10,000 hours of time. And then I wanted to do really 4 pints of beer, and I think that's what my philosophy is. 4 pints you should be able to drink. And I brought that to Postmark, and that's where we're at now.
And it's great. Recently we were on a trip to Thailand. Steve joined us, and we're talking about the 4-pint rule, and I think that's why Postmark does so well in areas like Thailand, where it's a little hotter out, and I think people are starting to get past that big IPA kind of feel where it just punches you in the face. This beer doesn't punch you; it's just a light tap, just a little tap, and that's what I think people are starting to look for. And I really gauge your guys' success in Thailand and throughout Asia for that.
It's great. Thank you.
And another thing that's interesting is, chatting with some brewers in Vietnam, in Cambodia, in Singapore. It's funny because 2 breweries tend to come up with where their brewmasters came through, which is Deschutes and Central City, which is 2 areas that you came up through. So I don't know if those are breweries or if those are universities or what, but it seems like they're really spitting out some great talent. So that's a great story.
There's some great brewers coming out of both of those places.
Absolutely. Very cool. I want to bring it over to Nate. Nate is the man in charge of essentially brewery operations, and I want to talk to you about now. And you guys, I find a big thing that separates you from the market is your guys' partnerships. You've developed some great partnerships, not just in beer, but from elsewhere. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it was one of the core things that Steve and I really wanted to have when we started Postmark. It was, it's more than just, hey, here's great beer. It's, hey, here's a bit of the lifestyle and what we lead, and here's some of the brands that we kind of align with and like to be a part of. Some of the big ones we've had in the last little while. One of our favorite ones, true to Steve and I's heart, is our Pacific Salmon Foundation partnership, where partial proceeds from every one of our PSF lager goes back to supporting conservation efforts in BC for all salmon along the coast. Another really great one that we've been working on the last little while was our Lululemon partnership, which happened this summer. For us, a really great, big international brand, kind of took us on to that next level. That a little playing field that something that we hadn't been on that scale before. We launched a session lager over the last summer, which was a big one for us. Really great partnership. What's another one?
Canada Sevens.
And then Canada Sevens. For an international rugby tournament coming through Vancouver. For them to choose a local craft brewery to partner up with instead of one of the big guys, really kind of gave about to what the craft beer scene is doing in BC, but also kind of what we were up to as a brewery. And for us, creating a beer that was something that an IPA that caters to kind of a bit more of the masses, a bit more of a session, four-pint rule, as Dominic would say. Those
10-can rule, rugby sevens.
maybe some rugby players, yeah. But all of those partnerships is really stuff that's kind of true to who we are and what Postmark's all about. It's all about aligning and being working with and being a part of all these really great local and international brands that we have in the last little while.
Awesome. And I love it that you guys work with Rugby Canada, and I know Singapore recently had their first Rugby World Cup, and I'm sorry, can you remind me who won that seventh Rugby World Cup? Who was it that won?
That was Canada.
Was it Canada? It was
yeah.
Canada. I forgot about that. That was the first time Canada has ever won the seventh Rugby World Cup, and that was huge. That was huge. So, but that's great. The partnerships that you guys do really shows what you're about, and shows that Pacific Northwest mentality that you guys have. So.
Absolutely.
You know what? Thank you guys again for having us. I'm going to do a final cheers on our way out. Really appreciate the time, boys.
Cheers.
I'm taking a cab home today. But first of all, thanks for tuning in with Canadian Craft Beer Collective. Take a look out for Postmark across Asia. It's now available. If you can't find it, ask for it, demand it, and we'll make sure it gets to you. So cheers.
Cheers.
All right.